In the first video, I asked you to find some basic supplies that you could use around the home. One was a rolling pin. There were 2 sticks, a board, a plastic cup, yogurt cup, some string, plastic knife and fork, and chopstick or chopsticks. So I'm going to, and also everybody hopefully got your bag of clay already. Thursday and Friday, most of you had the opportunity to get your bag of clay. And I'm going to show you what some of these things are for and how to use them in this video. And then I want you to take the time to experiment with them. One of the things I want to make sure to say right away is protecting this bag of clay means keeping it moist. You don't want it to dry out. As it dries out, it becomes more and more difficult to work with. So keeping the tie tight on here, not letting air get in or out, is what you want. Also making sure that there's no holes in the bag. And if the clay starts to feel like or feels like that it's pretty hard and doesn't smush down very easily when you poke towards the top, you can take maybe a couple tablespoons of water, put them into the bag, and then seal it back up again. Eventually the water will get soaked into the clay and help to rehydrate it. So that's something that you may want to think about doing. If you do that, make sure to always keep the bag upright. You don't want any of that water coming out if it can get through the seal on your bag and spilling anywhere. Now, to begin with, we're going to try and keep all of the projects that we make relatively small so that we can work on them at home in a relatively small space. I'm going to keep moving around my house to show that there's different places that you can work. Luckily, I have this umbrella because the sun is out and bright and hot, so this helps me. The first method I like to work with in ceramics is working with slab, and all these things are made with slab, which is a flat piece of clay. The box, the plate, the iPhone holder that projects the sound when you play it. So that'll be what we concentrate on first. The first project will be with slab. So to get some clay off of your bag, that's what this string is for. This we're going to use to cut through the clay, to slice off a piece of clay to work with, and then be able to roll it out with the sticks in the roller. And what I brought out here, I didn't show you last time. You can use pretty much anything. You can use washers. You can use something else that has a hole in it that you could wrap the string through. These are relatively big for this, but I decided to go ahead and try these. So I'm just going to tie these on, one on each end, to give me handles to my piece of string. At school, I use thicker string and I use washers. But I'm just going to go ahead and try this. This is what I had around the house. So I'm going to tie these on. These are sprinkler parts for the irrigation around my house, and I just had some extra pieces, so I grabbed them, and I'm tying the string onto one on each end. So once I do this, then my string, which I'll call this thing now clay cutter, to cut the clay, now has handles to it and make it easier to use. So to get some clay off the top of the bag, move it over onto my board, unwrap it. Make sure to keep that or have extras that you can use if you lose it. Okay, so here we go. Taking this, I'm putting this on the opposite side of the clay from me. I'm going to try and get an even slice right off the top, and this is about a ½ inch thick, just for purposes of demonstration. I'm holding them both with one hand now. Hold the bag, the clay, so it doesn't fall over, and then pull through straight back. And it just makes a slice right through the clay. So it comes off like this. Okay? Now, this is what I would take to make the flat pieces of clay to build something from. It's a little big to roll out this whole piece, so I'm going to be cutting that in half again. But, especially since it's hot out, but always I want to make sure to wrap up my clay when I am not using it. Because every minute that this keeps uncovered by your plastic, it will dry out. So making sure to keep this wrapped up all the time keeps it from drying out on it. I'm going to move this over here. As you can see, this is where I'm storing some of my stuff in. This is a clay mug that I made with my initials, and I made it in the year 2015, and this was made from slab as well. So we're going to work with slab, make several smaller projects with slab, and then I'll move on to a different method of using clay, and we'll make more projects that way. So I've got this thicker slab of clay. Like I said, it's about a half an inch, 3/4 of an inch thick, but I don't want to roll all this out. It's going to take up too much space. So I'm going to take my plastic knife, or I could use my clay cutter, but I'm just going to use my knife this time to show you can use this. I'm holding it close to the clay. If I hold it back here, it could break, but I'm just going to hold it close to the clay and push it through. The other way that I could use the clay cutter is having this stand up, and I could just grab the string like this and run it through. Actually, way easier using the string. So now I've got these small pieces of slab, thicker slab of clay that I cut right off the top of the bag, and I am going to take these 4 pieces of clay, and I'm going to, with one of them, I'm going to show you how you use the sticks and the roller. So the sticks are like railroad tracks. The roller goes on top of the tracks. The reason we do this is because when you put the roller on top of the 2 sticks, it keeps an even clearance, this thick, the thickness of the stick. So that is how thick I will make the slab. This will become only as thick as the stick, and it'll be even because I'll keep the roller up on top of here. I won't accidentally have my roller running crooked. It will be straight because it'll be up onto these sticks and rolling flat. So I'm going to take this, one of my slabs, I'm going to put it in the center of the sticks, put my roller on top. I'm just going to push directly on top of where the clay is and roll it back and forth a couple times so it expands. And then I'm going to turn it, put it the opposite direction, and then put the roller back on top, push down directly, and roll like that. The clay will stick to the board a little bit, but you can peel it off. And then roll it. As soon as it stops expanding, it means it's the same thickness as these sticks. So it is not expanding anymore, and the roller rolls right over top of it, and that's how I get a nice slab of clay. Now, I want to talk a lot about, in the beginning of this class, talking about how to protect your clay and how to treat this clay. You don't want to flop this thing around, hold it with 2 fingers, and you want to try and keep from bending it or putting marks in it, because as clean as this clay is right now is how it's going to look when you put it together on a box or a plate or a iPhone holder. So you don't want to have thumbprints or dents or scratches in it. You want to keep it nice and clean like this. Now, there are stages of clay. What you've seen here, this is wet clay, and I've just rolled it out, and now this is wet clay, and it's very soft. You can see how it bends if the gravity can get to it. That's why I'm supporting it just like that. When this dries out a little bit, it becomes what we call leather hard. So it won't bend as easily. It'll bend a little bit, and then it'll start to crack and maybe break, but not easily. Then when it dries out even more, it becomes what is called bone dry. And bone dry is when I can then fire it. Bone dry, the problem with that is you have to be done working with it. So when you touch it, oftentimes it breaks. You have to be very careful with it. And then after I fire it one time, it is called bisque. And that is when you can then put glaze on it. And I fire it a second time and it's become glaze. I will make another video that shows you all the different stages of clay, or I can direct you to a video on YouTube already where another ceramic artist shows you the different stages of clay. Either way, that's coming. So for now, I want you to remember how to protect this clay, how to use the stick and the roller, the sticks and the rollers together, how to use the string, The knife so far, all we've used it for is to cut through the clay to make this, cut this in half. But there's other ways that we can use this, and I'm going to show that in the future. And that is all I wanted to show you now with how to work with the clay, how to use the stick and the roller. This cup is going to be for making slip, which is the glue that we use in ceramics. And I'll be doing another video to show you how to make slip, and we're going to be doing that. And when you make the slip, then the lid will be for keeping the slip in here. You can get 2 cups if you want. You can get a smaller one of the smaller yogurt cups that has a lid on it, and use that for your slip. And this can be used for water while you're working. And I'm going to show you why you need all that stuff as we